We all remember the chaotic love story of Vince and Penny in Just Good Friends. But behind the scenes, the lives of the cast took shocking turns. From tragic deaths to shocking career turns that remained buried for decades, their real stories are far more dramatic than the sitcom itself. Over 40 years later, here's what really happened to the Just Good Friends cast. John Ringham as Norman Warrender. John Ringham was born on February 10, 1928, in Cheltenham, Gloucestershire, England. At 55 years old, he played Norman Warrender, the stern yet quietly witty father in Just Good Friends. His calm authority gave the sitcom emotional balance and made the Warrender household believable to audiences. Yet the calm man viewers saw on screen lived through marriages that were far less steady. In 1959, he married actress Elizabeth Shepard, but the relationship collapsed only 3 years later, ending in divorce in 1962 and leaving him suddenly alone while his acting career was still fragile. 4 years later, he tried again, marrying Hedwig Felicitas Nowacki in 1966, and together they raised 4 children while he kept appearing in television dramas such as Poldark and The Bill. The second marriage endured far longer, but it unfolded alongside constant travel, stage tours, and the quiet strain of supporting a growing family while remaining a character actor in an unpredictable industry. Then came the final battle few people around him fully understood. In his later years, Ringham developed cancer, but he chose to keep the illness mostly private, continuing to appear in productions and public events while enduring increasing pain. Friends later revealed that the actor who once terrified viewers as the Aztec priest Tlotoxl in Doctor Who was fighting a silent war with his own body during his final years. Sadly, he died on October 20th, 2008, at the age of 80 after his struggle with cancer. The veteran actor who had spent decades moving quietly between theater, film, and television left behind a remarkable catalog of British television history. Paul Nicholas, as Vincent Vince Pinner. Paul Nicholas was born on December 3, 1944, in Peterborough, Cambridgeshire, England. At 39 years old, he played Vincent Vince Pinner, the charming yet emotionally unpredictable man in Just Good Friends. His role became the heartbeat of the sitcom, turning Vince into one of the most memorable romantic troublemakers on British television. Yet behind that charming screen presence was a private life filled with shocking complications. At only 18, Nicholas had already become a father with his girlfriend, Patricia Brecknell. Then came an even more explosive situation. In early 1967, his former girlfriend, Lynn, gave birth to his second child, just months after he had married Susan G. in 1966. The scandal shook his early marriage, and the relationship collapsed under pressure, ending in divorce in 1970, while Nicholas was struggling to build his career. Even as his fame grew through hit stage productions like Jesus Christ Superstar and Hair, his personal life remained tangled with emotional consequences that never fully disappeared. Then tragedy struck in a way that haunted him for years. In 1977, Susan G., his former wife, was killed in a sudden car accident shortly after their separation. The news devastated Nicholas and triggered a deep period of guilt and depression that he later described as the darkest chapter of his life. At the very moment audiences were laughing at Vince's romantic chaos in Just Good Friends, the actor behind the character was quietly fighting emotional collapse. Rumors later spread that his intense chemistry with co-star Jan Francis had turned into a real relationship, though both denied it. The storm in his personal life finally calmed when he met Lindsay Jennings, whom he married in 1984, a relationship that helped him rebuild the stability he had long been searching for. In 2026, Paul Nicholas is 82 years old and still lives in Highgate, London, with his wife, Lindsay Jennings. After decades in television, theater, and music, his long career has built an estimated net worth of $7 million, a legacy shaped by fame, personal turmoil, and an unexpected ability to keep going despite it all. Sylvia Kay as Daphne Warrender. Sylvia Kay was born on May 16, 1936, in Leeds, England. At 47 years old, she played Daphne Warrender, the calm but sharp-tongued mother of Penny Warrender and the composed wife of Norman in Just Good Friends. Her character often cut through the emotional chaos around Vince and Penny, bringing wit, balance, and quiet authority to the family dynamic. Her path to acting began during her youth in Leeds. Determined to pursue performance, she entered the British film and television industry during the 1960s and quickly appeared in productions that captured the spirit of the era. Films like That Kind of Girl, 1963, and Rapture, 1965, introduced her to audiences, and her steady television work soon followed. By the early 1970s, she had built a recognizable career, including appearances in British dramas and a prominent role in the television series Rooms. Her personal life, however, unfolded with far more tension than the calm characters she often portrayed. In 1962, she married Canadian film director Ted Kotcheff, a rising talent whose career soon carried him between Britain and Hollywood. The distance created strain as Kay remained in England raising their 3 children, Aaron, Katrina, and Joshua, while her husband worked internationally. Although the couple collaborated professionally, including her role in Kotcheff's controversial film Wake in Fright, 1971, the long separations eventually damaged the relationship and led to divorce. Kay later searched for stability again when she married actor and writer Christopher Douglas in 1987. Yet even this second marriage ended in divorce in 2008. During this period, she began quietly shifting her life away from acting. While still appearing in television productions such as Jeeves and Wooster, she returned to university to study psychology and eventually qualified as a psychotherapist, later practicing in London and Herefordshire, where she helped others deal with emotional difficulties. Sylvia Kay died on January 18, 2019, at the age of 82 from natural causes. After a career that stretched across British cinema, television, and theater, including projects like Wake in Fright and Just Good Friends, she left behind a legacy of subtle but memorable performances. Of course, she accumulated a modest fortune estimated at around $3 million. Jan Francis as Penelope Penny Warrender. Jan Francis was born on August 5, 1947, at Charing Cross Hospital in Westminster, London, England. At 36 years old, she played Penelope Penny Warrender, the independent, sharp-minded woman and former fiancé of Vince, who becomes the emotional center of Just Good Friends. Her layered performance gave the sitcom its romantic tension and helped turn the show into one of the BBC's most beloved relationship comedies. Her early life was shaped by discipline and ambition. Raised in Streatham, South London, Francis showed an early passion for performance and trained at the prestigious Royal Ballet Senior School. By the mid-1960s, she was touring internationally with the Royal Ballet Touring Company across Europe and the United States. Yet the physically demanding world of ballet also brought pressure and uncertainty, and in 1969 she made the bold decision to leave dancing entirely and pursue acting, a move that surprised many around her, but ultimately opened the door to television roles. Her personal life eventually found stability through marriage. In August 1977, she married actor and writer Martin Thurley, who later wrote under the name Thomas Ellis. While Francis was building her reputation through television roles such as Lisa Colbert in Secret Army, and later her defining role in Just Good Friends, the couple quietly raised 2 daughters together. Their marriage endured the demanding schedule of filming and theater work, becoming a steady foundation behind her public career. Despite that stability, Francis faced a quieter personal struggle during her busiest years. She later admitted that the pressure of portraying strong, believable female characters often brought severe stress and recurring insomnia. During the filming of Just Good Friends, she worried constantly about whether she was doing justice to Penny's independence and emotional strength. Even while continuing appearances in productions such as Stay Lucky, Emmerdale, and Casualty, the stress pushed her to gradually reduce her workload and focus more on family life. As of 2026, Jan Francis is 79 years old and lives a largely private life with her husband Martin Thurley in Woodchurch, Kent. She occasionally appears in theater productions or guest television roles, but prefers a quieter routine away from constant media attention. After decades working in British television, film, and stage, her career has brought her an estimated net worth of around $3 million, reflecting a lifetime of steady work in the entertainment industry. Shaun Curry as Les Pinner. Shaun Curry was born on June 5, 1937, in Lambeth, London, England. At 46 years old, he played Les Pinner, the blunt, rough-edged relative in Just Good Friends. His performance gave the sitcom a dose of gritty realism, the kind of character audiences instantly believed. His path to acting was far from glamorous. Raised in post-war London, Curry developed a fascination with theater early on, eventually studying at Buckingham College in Harrow before being accepted into the prestigious Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. After graduating from RADA in 1961, he spent years building his craft on stage with repertory companies, the Royal Shakespeare Company, and later the National Theatre. Those early years demanded discipline and resilience, but they also gave him the solid acting foundation that would carry him into dozens of television roles. Despite the growing success, Curry's private life remained largely hidden from public view. Colleagues often described him as a quiet and deeply introspective man who preferred a simple life away from celebrity attention. Ironically, that contrast created its own emotional strain. Curry became widely known for playing intimidating figures in series such as The Sweeney, Poldark, and Secret Army. The more convincing he was as a threatening presence on screen, the more people assumed he was the same in real life. Sadly, he died on July 7, 2009, in Bracknell, Berkshire, England, at the age of 72 from natural causes. Over nearly 5 decades, he appeared in countless British television productions, including Coronation Street, The Bill, and London's Burning, leaving behind a long list of memorable performances. Anne Lynn as Rita Pinner. Anne Lynn was born on November 7, 1933, in Fulham, London, England. At 51 years old, she played Rita Pinner, the sharp-tongued but fiercely protective mother in Just Good Friends. Her performance brought emotional warmth and strength to the Warrender family storyline, making Rita one of the sitcom's most memorable supporting characters. Acting seemed almost inevitable for Lynn. She was the great niece of legendary comedy actor Ralph Lynn, a connection that exposed her to the theater world at a young age. As a teenager, she became fascinated with performance and eventually entered the British film industry during the rise of the British New Wave. Throughout the 1960s, she appeared in films such as Flame in the Streets and Strong Room, establishing herself as a serious dramatic actress capable of portraying complex, working-class characters. Her personal life, however, soon turned into a painful public drama. In August 1956, she married singer and actor Anthony Newley, whose rising fame quickly placed their relationship in the spotlight. The marriage ended in heartbreak when Newley began an affair with actress Joan Collins, leaving Lynn humiliated in the press and eventually leading to their divorce in 1963. The pain was made even worse by the loss of their only child, Simon, who had been born with spina bifida and died as an infant. The double tragedy left Lynn emotionally devastated for years. Even while carrying that grief, Lynn refused to disappear from the screen. She continued acting steadily through the 1970s and 1980s, appearing in numerous television dramas and sitcoms including Minder and Only Fools and Horses. Her ability to portray strong yet wounded characters seemed to draw from her own experiences, giving her performances a quiet authenticity that audiences recognized even if they did not know the painful story behind them. Sadly, she died on August 30, 2020, at the age of 86. Her career had lasted more than 4 decades, spanning British New Wave cinema and countless television series. Though she never sought the spotlight after the scandals of her early life, she remained respected within the industry as a resilient actress who endured personal heartbreak while continuing to build a long and memorable career on screen. Derek Newark as Eddie Brown. Derek Newark was born on June 8, 1933, in Great Yarmouth, Norfolk, England. At 51 years old, he played Eddie Brown, a rough, intimidating acquaintance connected to the social circle surrounding the main characters in Just Good Friends. Though a supporting role, his tough and imposing presence gave the character a raw edge that audiences immediately noticed. His life began far from the stage. Newark first served as a soldier in the Coldstream Guards and later joined the Royal Artillery before making the risky decision to abandon the army and pursue acting. That decision shocked many around him, but eventually led him to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. From there, he built a reputation in theater, especially during nearly a decade with the Royal National Theatre, where he performed in demanding productions such as A Midsummer Night's Dream and the original stage run of Glengarry Glen Ross. On television, he appeared in shows like The Avengers and Doctor Who, proving himself a powerful character actor with a commanding voice and presence. Yet behind that commanding presence was a man struggling with anger and pressure. Newark developed a reputation for being difficult and short-tempered on set, something colleagues often linked to the stress he carried from the theater world, where expectations were relentless. During these years, he turned increasingly to alcohol as a way to cope. Even while appearing in productions like Juliet Bravo and the film Bellman and True, his dependence on drinking grew stronger, slowly damaging both his health and his career. The consequences eventually became devastating. Years of alcoholism led to severe liver damage, which doctors later connected to his final illness. By the late 1990s, his health had deteriorated dramatically, though he rarely spoke publicly about the seriousness of his condition. Derek Newark died on August 11, 1998, in London at the age of 65 after suffering a heart attack caused by liver failure. The liver damage had developed after years of alcohol abuse, a tragic end for a man whose talent had once made him a cornerstone of the Royal National Theatre. Though his life ended quietly, his performances in television series like Doctor Who and theater productions in London left behind a lasting impression of a fierce, uncompromising actor. Linda Hayden as Sonia. Linda Hayden was born on January 19, 1953, in Stanmore, Middlesex, England. At 30 years old, she played Sonia, a young woman connected to the social world around Vince and Penny, appearing as a minor romantic figure in Just Good Friends. Though her role was brief, her striking screen presence made the character memorable and reminded audiences of her earlier fame. Her rise to fame began shockingly early. At just 15, Hayden appeared in the controversial film Baby Love, 1969, playing a manipulative teenage girl, a role that instantly turned her into one of the most talked-about young actresses in Britain. Soon afterward, she became a recognizable face in cult horror films like Taste the Blood of Dracula and The Blood on Satan's Claw. These roles made her famous, but also trapped her within a controversial image as a sex symbol of 1970s horror and exploitation cinema. That reputation followed her everywhere. While working in films such as Confessions of a Window Cleaner alongside actor Robin Asquith, who was also her real-life partner during the 1970s, Hayden found it increasingly difficult to be taken seriously as an actress. The attention also attracted obsessive fans. On several occasions, she reportedly required police protection after encounters with overly aggressive admirers who blurred the line between fantasy and reality. The pressure of that image pushed Hayden to gradually step away from the more sensational roles that had made her famous. She shifted toward theater and television, appearing in series such as The Professionals, Minder, and later The Bill. Over time, she deliberately moved into quieter work, distancing herself from the controversial films she had once been known for, though one of them, Exposé, remained a project she later admitted she regretted making. In 2026, Linda Hayden is 73 years old and lives a largely private life after decades in film, television, and theater. She occasionally appears at film conventions and special screenings celebrating classic British horror cinema, where her early performances remain highly respected by cult film fans. Her long career has provided her with an estimated net worth of around $1.2 million, the result of a life spent navigating fame, controversy, and reinvention. Ed Bishop as Vernon. Ed Bishop was born on June 11, 1932, in Brooklyn, New York, United States. At 54 years old, he played Vernon, a confident American acquaintance who briefly appears in the social circle around the main characters in Just Good Friends. Though the role was small, his commanding voice and screen presence made the character instantly believable. His journey to acting began with an unexpected rebellion against his family's plans. The son of a Manhattan banker, Bishop was originally studying business at Boston University when he suddenly abandoned the degree to pursue theater, a decision that shocked his parents. After winning a Fulbright scholarship to train at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, he settled in Britain and built a steady career across stage and screen. Over the years, he appeared in films such as 2001, A Space Odyssey, and gained cult status through Jerry Anderson's science fiction series UFO, where he played Commander Ed Straker, a role that made him instantly recognizable among sci-fi fans. His private life, however, was far more turbulent than his confident screen persona suggested. Bishop married 3 times. His first marriage to Jane Thwaites in 1955 ended within months. In 1962, he married Hilary Preen, with whom he had 4 children, and the marriage lasted 34 years before ending in divorce in 1996. Years later, he met photographer Jane Skinner during a dramatic political protest in 1993, when Bishop stormed an arms trade exhibition dressed like Chilean dictator Augusto Pinochet to mock the arms industry. The unusual encounter eventually turned into romance, and the two married in 2001. In his final years, Bishop remained politically outspoken and continued working in radio and television, including the BBC adaptations of Raymond Chandler's Philip Marlowe and the Doctor Who audio drama Full Fathom 5. But during this period, doctors diagnosed him with leukemia, forcing him to begin treatment while still attending science fiction conventions and recording voice roles. Ed Bishop died on June 8, 2005, at the age of 72, just 3 days before his 73rd birthday, and only 5 days after the death of his UFO co-star Michael Billington. Although leukemia had weakened him, the immediate cause of death was a severe chest infection triggered during treatment. He was buried at the parish church of St. Lawrence in Knapton, Warwickshire. The grave stands only a few feet from that of his son Daniel, who had died years earlier in a tragic car accident, adding a final quiet tragedy to the story of the actor's life. Colette Gleason, as Elaine Colette Gleason, was born in 1946 in Surrey, England. At 37 years old, she played Elaine, a friend and acquaintance within the social circle surrounding Vince and Penny in Just Good Friends. Though her appearance in the sitcom was brief, the role helped establish her as a recognizable supporting actress in British television. Her journey into acting began quietly in the British television industry during the 1960s and 1970s. Gleason appeared in several productions at a time when British TV drama was rapidly expanding, including a role in the long-running science fiction series Doctor Who and later the drama Marty. These early roles showed her ability to blend naturally into ensemble casts, and by the early 1980s, she had built a modest but steady career appearing in television productions that relied heavily on strong character actors. Unlike many performers who chased fame, Gleason seemed to step away from the spotlight rather than pursue it further. During the late 1980s and early 1990s, her acting appearances became increasingly rare. Colleagues later hinted that she had grown uncomfortable with the attention that came with television work, and rumors began circulating that she was slowly shifting her life in a different direction outside the entertainment industry. Those rumors eventually turned into one of the small mysteries surrounding her career. After the early 1990s, Gleason almost completely disappeared from public entertainment records. Several reports suggested that she had quietly moved into social work and community support programs, choosing a profession focused on helping people rather than performing for audiences. Even more intriguing, she reportedly declined interview requests and refused to discuss her acting past, leaving fans with little explanation for her sudden disappearance. As of 2026, Colette Gleason is believed to be about 80 years old and continues to live a very private life in England. Unlike many former television actors who regularly appear at conventions or retrospectives, she has remained almost entirely absent from the public eye, leaving her brief but memorable television career as one of the few remaining traces of her time in the entertainment world. More than 4 decades have passed since Just Good Friends first appeared on television, but the cast behind this beloved romantic comedy still leaves a lasting impression. Some of them went on to build long careers in theater and television, while others quietly stepped away from the spotlight or sadly passed on. Time has changed many things, yet the charm and chemistry that made the series so memorable continue to live on through its cast. So now we want to hear from you. Which cast member surprised you the most after all these years? And which character from Just Good Friends was always your favorite? If you enjoyed revisiting the Just Good Friends 1983 cast then and now, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next journey into the lives of classic TV stars.